last night was the debut episode, the season premiere episode of HBO's Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel, a show that I enjoy very much.
It definitely has some great moments.
Anything Frank DeFord does, I'm in. That's my.
I don't know.
He's my leader. I love Frank DeFord. I really do.
Soccer basher, noted soccer.
He
basher.
is a soccer basher. I don't agree with him on everything he does, but I think that he's a smart.
He is entertaining.
He's a smart, thoughtful, entertaining guy who's got great writing chops, and the fact that they have translated over into television makes me happy.
Anyway,
and I don't mind Bryant Gumbel. I know Bryant Gumbel gets a lot of
Sure.
crap, but I don't mind Bryant Gumbel. But last night, there was a story about questionable treatment of treatment habits for players,
right.
Athletes,
Yeah.
injured players, and one of the interviewing subjects,
Yes.
interviewed by John Frankel, who did the piece. It was a good piece.
It was a good piece.
Is Carl Ketchum. And it's okay if you don't know the name Carl Ketchum.
Yeah.
I didn't until yesterday.
I didn't either.
But he is a longtime athletic trainer for Texas A&M.
Apparently also a member or was inducted into the Texas Trainers Hall of Fame. Is that correct?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
He was in 2005. He was the Division I College Athletic Trainer of the Year.
So in the training world,
respected.
respected.
And he was in the Southwest. He was in 2014. He went to the Southwest Athletic Trainers Hall of Fame.
Sure.
And he put out some pretty troubling allegations, essentially saying that he was pressured and or ordered to clear injured players before he would have cleared them in his own medical.
Right. Give a timeline. Also, when was he at A&M? At least the later years. So, does this crossover someone? Be clear for the audience.
Yes.
Obviously.
So he worked for A&M for 31 years. He was fired in 2013. So he was there from the 80s through through up until the beginning of
the Sumlin
era when Sumlin came in 2011 or 2012. Right.
And obviously this is all a bit more suspect for the Sumlin era because that's when he was fired.
Sure, he was fired during the Sumlin era, but it's worth mentioning that it was not like his entire tenure. He did not lay out any sort of timeline when this happened.
Right.
But he just said that this was happening at A&M. And that is obviously troubling. That is obviously... That, especially with the way that he explained it, was that he was being told... he said, here's a direct quote from the transcript. Frankel asks, "Did you ever have a coach say to you, 'I need this kid back'?" Ketchum: "Yes. They would always, tend to put pressure on you to get the good players back, That is especially troubling. First of all, it is troubling if they are clearing anybody before they're ready to go.
They should be. Right, exactly.
It is doubly troubling if they are asking you to clear particularly good players.
Yes.
If they are playing favorites and saying, hey, this particular player is very important to what we're doing on the football field, and therefore we need him, even though he may not be medically ready in your opinion, we need him out on the field. Yeah. And he mentioned that that the player would have a subsequent injury. And this I think is the most damning part of it. Frankel asks, if you said to a coach, I know we said it was going to be 4 weeks, but we need an extra week, what would the coach say to you? Ketchum: "You would be challenged on your character, your credentials. Maybe you were the wrong guy for the job." That's not good. Now, I think that there are some important caveats to lay out here. First of all, Ketchum is an A&M grad. He's a born and bred Aggie.
Yes.
There is a lawsuit going on. He has a lawsuit against A&M filed a year ago claiming that Eric Hyman, the now former athletic director, terminated him because of his age.
Yes.
When he was 56, he was fired. So there is, if you want to start saying things like, oh, well, he has an axe to grind against A&M.
And he never said any of this while he was working for A&M.
There is ample. I don't know why Dave got turned around. There is reason to believe that. There is reason to say that is not an out there.
That is a fair point to make.
That is an out there.
Yep.
Thing that needs to be considered.
Yes.
But that said, the troubling aspect here is especially with the spotlight on football that is currently being shined on it, not just because of injury, not just because of concussions.
Right.
That's obviously the big thing. But injuries in general, we are seeing this rash of injuries. Football is getting more violent.
Yeah.
Football is getting more dangerous. That's just the bottom line. The kids are bigger, and they are faster, and they are stronger. And whereas you would have 190-pound guys who could run 4 640s 30 years ago, now you have 260-pound guys who can run 4 640s or faster.
Yeah.
And when the simple fact of the matter is that football is getting more dangerous. And this is coming from somebody who makes a living in football. Yeah. I have every reason to defend football, but that's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
And so if there is something going on where medical professionals who should be the last line of defense to get players back on the field are being compromised for athletic reasons, that's a big problem. Now, I would go on to say that I don't think this is a problem unique to A&M. I don't think this is just going on at A&M.
Right.
I think that that the guy that they found to talk about this happened to be from A&M.
Yeah.
I think it's probably more widespread than you'd think.
Yeah. I think my biggest takeaway from the whole thing was mostly just, it isn't just about A&M. It's not just about Sumlin. It's not just about Mike Sherman. It's not just about Jackie Sherrill. It's about the whole culture. The idea that these are the tough positions that trainers are being put in. It's not just A&M. It's probably happening in a lot of other places. And yes, this guy has an axe to grind, but also because he has an axe to grind, he also probably feels a little free to say some things he wouldn't normally say about his alma mater, a place he loves. I think my takeaway from the piece, after seeing it, after reading a few pieces about it, this is a cultural sort of issue in football. I don't know if I was surprised.
No, I don't think
that's not the word, but I think we rarely get confirmation like this that it's going on, even though I think we all know it does.
I think you're right. I think that we got confirmation on the record from a respected medical trainer, not just some fly-by-night guy, that this was happening. His other quotes here. While we're considered part of the medical staff, in a lot of cases, the head coach just sees you basically, in some cases, being subservient to his situation. That's the bottom line of the situation, is that obviously the head football coach is in charge of winning football games.
Right.
And obviously the medical people are in charge of making sure these players are safe, making sure these players are healthy. In a just and fair world, never the twain shall meet. These should be completely separate. There should be a line of demarcation that says, no, they get to do what they need to do. And if that affects your product negatively, that's just the way it goes. But this is kind of, I think, confirmation of what we have suspected, that these football programs, especially at the college level, and I would even go on to say probably at the pro level and, the high school level, who really knows, but they are getting so big and these coaches are getting so powerful and there is so much pressure to win that they are making decisions that are allegedly making decisions that are not in the best interest of their athletes. The last quote here. There's been a lot of great quality athletic trainers that have subsequently lost their jobs because they stood up for players or were doing the right thing. That seems to indicate to me that Kapczynski is saying this isn't an A&M problem.
Yeah.
This isn't an A&M problem. This isn't an SEC problem. This is a football problem. This is something that's happening. And with the game getting more violent and getting more dangerous, frankly, it is more and more. It is ever more important that there be a line of demarcation between the medical side of it and the football side of it.
Yeah.
So it's worth your time. It is HBO's Real Sports with Brian Campbell. If you have HBO Go, you can see it. I'm sure they'll replay it on HBO. And I bet it'll be somewhere on YouTube at some point pretty soon. So
probably
that's
yeah.
it.